Hi guys, we're going to talk about rationalizing the denominator, which is really just dividing radicals. It's kind of the same thing. I'm putting them all in the same boat because that's really all you're doing. So when you rationalize the denominator, there's this rule out there that says, hey, you can't have these radicals in here in the denominator. So remember, this operation between the 2 and the square root of 3 is division. And so they're saying there's this math rule. It's kind of like how you can't divide by 0. It's the same thing. You don't want to leave the square root of 3 in the denominator. That's not simplified. So to rationalize the denominator, all you're going to do is multiply the top and the bottom by the radical in the denominator. Okay? Only multiply by the radical. Don't multiply by any constants or anything that are down there because that's just going to make things more difficult for you. So only multiply by that radical that's in the denominator. Okay? Okay. If you haven't already, let's go ahead and put the fold lines on this booklet so that we don't end up with writing over the edges. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and fold it and I'll come back and I'm going to push pause and I'll come back when I'm done. You pause the video as well. Okay, so I went ahead and just folded it into a book so that we have the book to work with as well. Alright, so let's start with this first example. It says 2 divided by the square root of 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply both the top and the bottom by the radical that's in the denominator. So we're going to multiply by the square root of 3 over the square root of 3. Okay? So that means we have two different problems. We have 2 times the square root of 3, which is 2 square root of 3. And we have square root of 3 times the square root of 3. Now remember, since they're both underneath, we keep them underneath, which is the square root of 9. And then you're saying, but Miss Ash, that didn't get rid of the radical. But actually it did, because the square root of 9 is just 3. So this is 2 square root of 3 on top, and then the square root of 9 is just 3. Okay? Because 9 is a square number. So we're done with that one. Okay, and what you're going to notice is anytime you do square root of 3 times square root of 3, you end up getting the square number right here, and so that's going to pull the radical away. Okay? Alright, let's look at the next one. Square root of 2 times the square root of 10. So we're going to multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 10 so that the radical will disappear. Okay? So now we have square root of 2 times square root of 10, which is square root of 20. 2 times 10, they're both underneath. And then we have square root of 10 times square root of 10, which is square root of 100. Okay, so to simplify this, we first need to make sure that we realize that the square root of 100 is a square number, so we're going to go ahead and pull it out. But the square root of 20 is not simplified. So let's go ahead and simplify that. So I'm going to use the birthday cake method. And I'm going to simplify it out till I get to my birthday candle on the top. So the square root of 20 is going to be 2 square root of 5. The 2's can go out, and the 5 has to stay home. Okay? Now this is not fully simplified either, because I've got 2 over 10. So what I have to do is I have to go through and say, okay, let's make sure that the coefficients are simplified as well. You can use your calculator if you want to. You can say alpha y equals enter, get your fraction, and push enter, and your calculator will simplify it to 1/5. Now, you could also realize that both top and bottom could be divided by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So my final answer to this problem is going to be square root of 5 over 5. Because we had to simplify. Okay? So my final answer is square root of 5 over 5. Okay, moving on to the next one. So the next one is square root of 2 over square root of 6. So we're going to multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 6. So times the square root of 6 over 6. And so we get the square root of 12 over the square root of 36, which the square root of 36 is 6. And let's simplify the square root of 12. 12 divided by 2 is 6, divided by 2 is 3, divided by 3 is 1. Alright, so we have gotten to our candle. Okay, so we can pull out a 2, and so it's 2 square root of 3 over 6. Notice 2 and 6 are both even, so I can divide by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, so we just get square root of 3. We could write the 1, but that we don't have to, okay? And then 6 divided by 2 is 3. So this one is square root of 3 over 3. Okay? Alright, let's move on to the next one. 4 square root of 3 over 3 square root of 2. So remember what I said, only multiply by this radical. So we're going to multiply by the square root of 2 over the square root of 2. 4 square root of 3 times the square root of 2. These are the 2 underneath, so it's 4 square root of 6. And on bottom, 3 square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is 3 square root of 4. Okay, 3 square root of 4, well 4 is a square number, so this is just 3 times 2. And on top, square root of 6 is simplified, so this is 4 square root of 6 still. 3 times 2 is 6, so it's 4 square root of 6 over 6. Now, 4 and 6 are both even, so I can divide by 2. So this is 2 square root of 6 over 3. Okay? Lots of steps on some of these problems. You have to make sure you pay attention to both the radical and the fraction when you go to simplifying. Okay? Pay attention to both. Alright, last two examples. 2 square root of 15 over 5 square root of 10. Remember, we're going to multiply, that shouldn't be equal, that should be multiply. We're going to multiply by the square root of 10 over the square root of 10. Okay? So, square root of 10 is underneath, so this is 2 square root of 15 times 10, which is 150. And this is 5, both of these are underneath, so it's 5 square root of 100. The square root of 100 is 10. And 2 square root of 150, oh, we need to simplify that as well. So 150 divided by 2, 75 divided by 5. Ooh, 75 divided by 5, I don't know what that is. 15 divided by 5 again, 3 divided by 3, 1. Okay, got to my birthday candle. So I have one pair that comes out, and then 3 times 2 stays in. So we have times 5 square root of 6. Everybody agree? The 5 comes out, the 3 times 2 stays in. Now we just multiply these guys. 2 times 5 is 10, square root of 6. 5 times 10 is 50. Now I can simplify this because they both can be divided by 10. Guys, if you can't do this simplifying of fractions in your head, you can always use your calculator to help you out. Just make sure you ask if you're confused, but remember it's alpha y equals enter. 10 divided by 10 is 1, so this just leaves me with the square root of 6 on top. 50 divided by 10 is 5, so this is square root of 6 over 5. Okay. Alright, and now the last one. 3 square root of 16 times 5 square root of 12. Multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 12. So this is 3 square root of, now I don't know what 16 times 12 is, I'm going to use my calculator, 192. And on bottom, it's 5 square root of 12 times 12 is 144. So when we go to simplify this, this is 5 times 12 on the bottom, because that's a perfect square. And 192, I'm going to have to do my cake for it. 192 divided by 2, that's going to be 96. Divided by 2 again, 48. Divide by 2, 24. Divide by 2, 12. Divide by 2, 6. Divide by 2, 3. Divide by 3, 1. Okay, whew, that's a lot of parts to my cake here. Let's circle our pairs. 1, 2, 3 pairs with a 3 left over. So this is 3 times 2, 2, and 2. And then this 3 stays underneath. Alright, so 3 times 2 times 2. And then another 2. So there's 3 2's multiplied. Okay, multiply that on your calculator. I get 24 square root of 3. Whoops, that says 2. So 24 square root of 3 over 5 times 12 is 60. Now, I know that both of these numbers are even, so I know I can divide by a certain number. I know for sure I can divide by 2, but maybe I can divide by 4, and I can divide by 4. And you know what, maybe I can even divide by 12, because if you think about it, 24 divides by 12, and this was 5 times 12 to get my 60, right? So I think I'm going to divide by 12. 24 divided by 12, that's 2, square root of 3. 60 divided by 12, that's 5. So since I picked the biggest number I can think of that goes into 24 and 60, then I can simplify it in one step. Remember, if you're just not feeling it, you can always use alpha y equals enter, type 24 over 60, push enter, and get your 2/5 as well. So either way works. Alright, so that's rationalizing the denominator. Make sure you start on the question stack. Thanks for watching.